Welcome to Biochemistry DSP channel. In this video, I'll be explaining about exose monophosphate shunt. The other names of exose monophosphate shunt is pentose phosphate pathway, pentose shunt, phosphogluconate pathway, Warburg-Lipman pathway. So these are the alternative names of HMP shunt. It occurs in the cytosol, mainly in the cytoplasm of all cells except muscle and non-lactating mammary gland. Tissues includes liver, adipose tissue, lactating mammary glands, testes, ovary and adrenal cortex. The importance of this HMP pathway is to produce NADPH reducing equivalent and ribose sugars and ribose 5-phosphates. So the biomedical importance of this pathway is it is an alternative route for the metabolism of glucose, and it does not generate any ATP, but it has got major two functions for the formation. It helps in the formation of NADPH, which is mainly required for the synthesis of fatty acids and steroids. It helps in the synthesis of ribose for nucleotide and nucleic acid formation. The pathway begins with the glycolytic intermediate glucose 6-phosphate. So here in HMP pathway, 3 molecules of glucose 6-phosphate will give rise to 3 molecules of CO2 and 3 5-carbon sugars. These are rearranged to regenerate 2 molecules of glucose 6-phosphate and 1 molecule of glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate. So hence for this reason this pentose phosphate pathway is often referred to as a shunt pathway because it reconnects with glycolysis because of the two end products glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate and fructose 6-phosphate. The major pathways which requires NADPH are fatty acid biosynthesis, cholesterol biosynthesis, nucleotide biosynthesis, neurotransmitter biosynthesis and all detoxification reactions which requires NADPH as reducing equivalent. HMP pathway takes place in the cytosol and it consists of two major phases, oxidative phase and non-oxidative phase. So oxidative phase generates NADPH and the non-oxidative phase generates the ribose precursors. Oxidative phase of HMP shunt. So here in the oxidative phase, glucose 6-phosphate, okay, 3 molecules of glucose 6-phosphate will be converted into 3 molecules of CO2 and 3 molecules of ribulose 5-phosphate. So you get the end product as 3 molecules of ribulose 5-phosphate. So the first step involves conversion of glucose 6-phosphate into 6-phosphogluconolactone. It takes place with the help of the enzyme called glucose 6-phosphate dehydrogenase, which is a NADP dependent enzyme. So here NADP plus will be converted into NADPH. It's the first step where NADPH is synthesized from HMP pathway. Then the 6-phosphogluconolactone is converted into 6-phosphogluconate in the presence of the enzyme gluconolactone hydrolase. It's a hydrolysis step. Second step. Then third step involves 6-phosphogluconate conversion into ribulose 5-phosphate with the help of the enzyme 6-phosphogluconate dehydrogenase. Again it uses NADP plus as reducing equivalent to be converted into NADPH. The second step where NADPH is produced. So in these two steps we NADPH is formed and conversion of glucose 6-phosphate into ribulose 5-phosphate occurs in the oxidative phase. So in the oxidative phase 3 molecules of glucose 6-phosphate is converted into 3 molecules of ribulose 5-phosphate and 3 moles of CO2 is liberated. Then non-oxidative phase of HMP shunt. So in the non-oxidative phase, what is happening means we got in the oxidative phase we got 3 molecules of ribulose 5-phosphate. Now this ribulose 5-phosphate will undergo epimerization and isomerization. So it will undergo epimerization to form the product as xylulose 5-phosphate. So, two molecules of ribulose 5-phosphate will undergo epimerization reaction to form xylulose 5-phosphate. So, two molecules of xylulose 5-phosphate will be produced, and one molecule of ribulose 5-phosphate will undergo isomerization in the presence of the enzyme ribulose 5-phosphate isomerase to form the product as ribose 5-phosphate. So, as a result of epimerization, we get two molecules of xylulose 5-phosphate. As a result of isomerization, we get one molecule of ribose 5-phosphate. Now, this one molecule of xylulose 5-phosphate will condense with one molecule of ribose 5-phosphate in the presence of the enzyme trans-ketolase. So, it's a 5-carbon compound. So, two 5-carbon compounds are condensing. So, 10 carbon compounds is split into two two compounds. One is three carbon compound glyceraldehyde 3 phosphate. Okay, so in that, as a result of this trans ketolase reaction, we get glyceraldehyde 3 phosphate one molecule and one molecule of pseudoheptulose 7 phosphate, which is a 7 carbon compound. Now this glyceraldehyde 3 phosphate and pseudoheptulose 7 phosphate will condense together in the presence of the enzyme transaldolase, because both the sugars are aldose type, and the enzyme is called transaldolase, to yield one molecule of fructose 6-phosphate and one molecule of 4-carbon compound erythrose 4-phosphate. So this 10 carbon compound can split into one 6-carbon compound fructose 6-phosphate and one 4-carbon compound erythrose 4-phosphate. Now this erythrose 4-phosphate will react with one more xylulose 5-phosphate. Again, its xylulose is a keto sugar, hence the enzyme is trans-ketolase. So they condense together in the presence of the enzyme trans-ketolase to yield one molecule of glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate and one molecule of fructose 6-phosphate. So as a result of this non-oxidative phase of HMP pathway, we get two molecules of fructose 6-phosphate and one molecule of glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate. These two molecules of fructose 6-phosphate in turn will undergo isomerization in the presence of the enzyme phosphoexose isomerase to be converted into glucose 6-phosphate. So as a result of this isomerization, we get two molecules of glucose 6-phosphate, and from glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate also we will get molecule of glucose 6-phosphate. So we are getting back all the three molecules of glucose 6-phosphate in the non-oxidative phase. This will enter glycolytic pathway for further oxidation. Regulation of HMP pathway. The rate limiting enzyme or the key enzyme of this HMP pathway is glucose 6-phosphate dehydrogenase. So this glucose 6-phosphate dehydrogenase is a regulatory enzyme for this HMP pathway. So this is regulated by both by allosteric regulation as well as by hormonal regulation. Allosteric regulation involves the availability of the substrate NADP plus, as well as by the availability of the reducing power NADPH. So whenever there is an increased requirement for this reducing equivalent NADPH, there will be more activity of this enzyme glucose 6-phosphate dehydrogenase to stimulate this HMP pathway. So in the well-fed state, when the diet is rich in carbohydrate, insulin will stimulate HMP shunt by increasing the synthesis of this glucose 6-phosphate dehydrogenase enzyme and 6-phosphogluconate dehydrogenase. And during starvation and in severe diabetic condition, it will be inhibited. Then thyroid hormones also will enhance the stimulation of this glucose 6-phosphate dehydrogenase enzyme. So this glucose 6-phosphate dehydrogenase enzyme is regulated both allosterically as well as by hormonal regulation by insulin. Significance of this HMP pathway. So the main significance is to produce NADPH reducing equivalent, and it is required for the formation of pentose sugars, ribose and ribose 5-phosphates. It is very much required for the reduction of oxidized glutathione into reduced glutathione in the RBC cells, and HMP pathway helps in the lens metabolism as well as it helps in the CO2 fixation reaction. So in the formation of NADPH, this formation of NADPH is required for the de novo biosynthesis of fatty acid synthesis, cholesterol biosynthesis, steroid hormones, and for the formation of pentose sugars, it is required for the nucleic acid synthesis. Then in the RBC cells, reduced glutathione, oxidized glutathione is to be converted again into reduced glutathione with the help of the enzyme glutathione reductase. And this is very important for to remove H2O2, because H2O2 will decrease the lifespan of this RBC cells by enhancing the rate of oxidation of hemoglobin into methemoglobin. So this oxidized glutathione should be converted into reduced glutathione to remove that excess of H2O2 in the RBC cells. Then it is also very important in the Lenz protein metabolism, where at least 10% of glucose is metabolized by this shunt pathway providing NADPH. This NADPH is required to convert the oxidized glutathione into reduced glutathione, which is necessary to maintain the Lenz proteins. Then in CO2 fixation reaction also, this HMP pathway plays a major role in plants, where HMP shunt where CO2 is produced in the HMP shunt, which is utilized for glucose formation by photosynthesis. So it helps to fix CO2. So these are the significance of HMP pathway, and what happens when there is deficiency of this enzyme glucose 6 phosphatase glucose 6 phosphate dehydrogenase enzyme. So when this glucose 6 phosphate dehydrogenase enzyme, it's not phosphatase, it's phosphate, glucose 6 phosphate dehydrogenase enzyme, when there is when this enzyme is defect, it will lead to hemolytic anemia. So a mutation, whatever mutation which is inherited due to inherited deficiency of this enzyme glucose 6 phosphate dehydrogenase, there will be impairment in the generation of NADPH, which will lead to lysis of the RBC cells. And so it will be characterized by hemolytic anemia, and which results in the inability of the RBCs to detoxify the reactive oxygen species. Then the hemolytic anemia, this glucose 6 phosphate dehydrogenase deficiency is characterized by increased destruction of RBC cells, and the symptoms of these patients includes paleness, tachycardia, shortness of breath, weakness, and enlarged spleen. It will also lead to jaundice in the severe cases, and sometimes it may also lead to acute renal failure. Next is malarial infections. So in severe cases, in malaria, glucose 6 phosphate dehydrogenase enzyme is also seen in malarial infections in the young children and infants. It is also seen in color blindness, and in the case of patients with glucose 6 phosphate dehydrogenase deficiency, ingestion or intake of this fava beans, eating of uncooked fava beans may cause erythrocytes to lyse 24 to 48 hours of ingestion of these beans. So such hemolytic effect of ingestion of fava beans is known as favism. So after the intake of this fava beans, uh, with patients of glucose 6 phosphate dehydrogenase deficiency, within 24 to 48 hours, lysis of erythrocytes will take place. So this type of hemolytic anemia, which is caused due to intoxic ingredient of fava beans, is called as favism. Thank you. Thank you for watching this video. Subscribe and support the channel Biochemistry DSP.